Okay, hey friends, this is the receipt from our shopping trip. It was $24.79 total. We have mashed potatoes, a 5-pound bag of flour, we have a thing of peanut butter, 4 cheese, pasta sauce, mixed vegetables, a seasoning blend, a turkey breakfast sausage. We have a package of macaroni. We have 4 bananas, 1 large sweet potato. We have a dozen of eggs. We have 1 little container of plain Greek yogurt. We have bouillon. We have a pound of ground chicken. And we have a pound of black beans, 1 brown gravy, and long grain rice in a pound. So that's what we're working with this week. And we're going to do some meal prep now. We've got the 1 pound of beans here. We're going to go ahead and get those rinsed and sorted. Make sure we don't have any rocks. And then we're going to soak these for about 4 hours. Once they're soaked, we're going to rinse them again, and then we're going to add some water. I put about 2 inches over the beans, and we have 2 bay leaves, and we're going to add a couple of bouillon, and we're going to add some minced onion. And then we're going to get these in the Instant Pot for about 35 minutes. You can do this on the stovetop as well. Now we have a large container of beans that we can work with. And we're getting our rice ready. This was the 1 pound bag. We've added a couple of bouillon cubes to this as well. And then we have a large container of rice to deal with. These are basic staples that we can use all week long. And we love rice and beans here, so it's a bonus. We have a large sweet potato here that we're going to get prepped for our breakfast. We've got it cubed. I've left the skin on because there's a lot of nutrition in that skin, so don't discard it. We're going to add 2 to 3 tablespoons of olive oil. And we're going to make sure that these are nice and coated. This helps keep the potatoes from drying out in the oven or the air fryer. And we're going to add our seasonings. We've got paprika. And then we're going to add some garlic salt. Now I'm using really simple seasonings this week. You should have all of these in your pantry, I believe. We're adding a little chili powder. And you can change up these seasonings if you like. I'm just giving you suggestions here. I'm sorry if my audio is a little muffled. I do not have a microphone to work with at the moment, so I'm doing the best that I can. Please forgive me. I'm going to add a little bit more olive oil here because it seemed a little dry. Now these are ready to go into the air fryer, but I have it on the bake function, so going to spread these out on a baking sheet. Make sure they're spread out a little bit so they get airflow. Getting every little last drop of that olive oil that I can. Waste not, want not. Now I've set this on 25 minutes at 425, but I think I got it out 6 minutes early. Okay, we have our breakfast turkey sausage here. You get a pound of this for like $2.49, so it's more affordable than the pork sausage that you find, but you could also use that if you would rather have that. Make sure that this is minced up well so that we can distribute it in our dishes. Now you're going to notice if you do buy this one, it does have a lot of liquid in it. We're going to drain this about halfway through, and then we're going to finish it out in the pan. And you can see that I've drained it here and it's cooking up nicely now. No more liquid. And there, yeah, we had 6 minutes left and 45 seconds. The sweet potatoes were finished. We're gonna scramble our eggs up, and we have gnats. Ugh. Anyway, I've used 6 eggs here to scramble. I've already added some seasoning to the eggs and a little bit of water since we don't have milk. We're going to get these scrambled up. Now to this, we're going to add about a cup of our beans that we've cooked. Now I've rinsed these beans, and that's how I use them usually. If I've cooked a big batch, I'll just rinse them if I don't want the actual seasoning in the recipe that I've used. We add beans to a lot of our dishes to stretch them out. It's a good source of protein and fiber. And now we've added in our sausage meat. We're using about half of that, and we've reserved the other half for another recipe. And now I'm adding in the sweet potatoes. I do go ahead and add this whole pan, but it was kind of awkward doing this on camera. It's been a long time since I've recorded things like this on YouTube, so I'm feeling very awkward again at first. So please have patience with me. Now we get this stirred up and heated through, and I'm gonna put this in some meal prep containers, and my husband and I are gonna eat on these this week. It's a quick grab and go meal for him. That's what it looks like. Oh yeah, I added a little bit of cumin. And we have some hot sauce in the background. You can top this with hot sauce or salsa, anything you have on hand that you want. Cheese, just whatever. And make sure that those seasonings are spread throughout the dish, and then we'll be done. That's the hot sauce that we prefer to use. I know my husband will be using that on his, and that's what it looks like when it's all packaged. That's with the sriracha on top. Now we ate this with a couple of slices of homemade bread, and it was very filling. Now we have our ground chicken. I went with the ground chicken because we honestly prefer that over the ground turkey. This was $2.97 for a pound, so it's not a big difference in price compared to the ground turkey. Gonna get that minced up as well and get it cooking. Same old, same old. These are handy dandy seasonings that we have. Paprika, and our garlic salt. I add that to just about everything. Now, although we're using the same seasonings in most of these meals, you're going to notice that there's different flavors in each one of them. So you can use the same items in your meals, the same ingredients, but you can still switch it up to have variety. And that's one way that you can really save money. We're adding a little bit of pepper here. Now, I don't know if you can see it in these videos, but there is a full-size stove in the background. We were using it a couple of years ago to help supplement our heat because our heater went down and it ruined it. It threw a code, and yes, it could be fixed, but we're not planning on putting a lot of money into stuff like this when we are going to move off grid and we're switching our appliances to propane. So we are using what we have right now, and this is an induction cooktop that I'm using, and I actually really love it. And we're going to go ahead and get that macaroni cooked up while we're cooking our ground chicken. These little macaroni packets are about 48 cents. And then we've got our pasta sauce back there and our mixed vegetables. We're going to use half of that bag of mixed vegetables. Now I'm going to tell you, this pasta sauce is not the one I wanted. And we've got our beans again. But I wanted the garlic and herb. And I'm going to tell you, I'm not crazy about this Ford cheese. So if you do make this recipe, it would be much better with the garlic and herb. Okay, and we have our macaroni cooked up. I didn't use all the macaroni either. I actually have some left that I put in a freezer bag so I can make my son a quick macaroni and cheese some other week. We're adding a bouillon cube here, or two. And once that's dissolved, we'll get our other ingredients in here. There's the pasta sauce. I believe that was $1.12. I often make my own homemade pasta sauce, but on this budget, I'm going ahead with most of the items that you can find readily. And we used Walmart for a reason, because it is, I think, available in most states. So most people have access to Walmart. Rinse out what's left in that can so we don't waste anything. Now for the bouillon, I think I put 1 or 2 cups, I can't remember, of the water. You can add more water to this recipe. The macaroni as it sits will absorb some of it. And also the macaroni, I didn't cook until it was soft. I left it a little bit firm so that it wouldn't get soggy as it sits during the week. Now we're adding half of our ground chicken to this. And the same with the sausage. We're going to reserve the other half for another recipe. And we're adding in our rinsed beans again. Then these beans, like I said before, are going to add in protein and more fiber. On a limited budget, you need items like this to help have a nutritionally balanced meal. And that's where the veggies come in as well. Frozen veggies are just as nutritious, as the fresh ones, sometimes even more so because they are frozen at their peak. So don't feel bad because you're buying frozen veggies instead of fresh. Now these bags are 84 cents at Walmart for the mixed vegetable. All right, now that we have all that together, we're gonna go ahead and put up our chicken so it can sit in the fridge for another recipe. Now this did lack some acidity, so I added in a little bit of lemon juice. You can add citric acid or lemon juice. And we're gonna let this cook and let the veggies get softened a little bit. And that's what it looks like before the macaroni. I was trying to do a taste test, but it was a little bit hot. All right, now we're adding in our macaroni. The macaroni is going to have a little bit of protein in there for you also, and it's also a carb source, so you're going to stay filled on this meal and fueled. And you see I have enough here left for a little mac and cheese for my son. So, okay, here's what it looks like. It's very similar to the traditional ground beef and veggie soup. And here it is when we had leftovers one day from it. You can see the macaroni absorb a little bit. And now we are making our homemade bread. We're starting out with some yeast, salt. I use honey as my sweetener in there for the yeast, and a little bit of olive oil, and our flour. I opted for the unbleached flour because it was the same price as the regular, and it was $2.12 for a 5-pound bag. We're adding a tablespoon and a half of our yeast. Getting that mixed in. Now we have 2 tablespoons of our honey. Now this is warm water, not hot, but it's warm, so it will help dissolve everything here. I like to use honey because I don't use granulated sugar in my house or refined sugar. We try to stick with completely natural sources. Now we're scraping out every last bit of that honey. We don't want to waste any of it. We're going to get that stirred in, and then we're going to let it sit here and bloom for a little bit. You'll notice it'll start to foam on top, and that's when it will be ready to use. We're going to go ahead and get our dry ingredients in here, and we're using 1.5 teaspoons of salt, along with our 5 to 6 cups of flour. I start out with 5, and then I add in as I need. Bread recipes usually aren't exact on the amount of flour that you're going to need due to humidity. All right, you can see that nice foam on top, so it's really ready to put in there. That's what I'm talking about right there. Get that into our flour, and then we will mix it up as much as we can with this spoon, and then we will start working with our hands. Now it may be odd that I'm using the insert to my rice cooker because I really like it. It's non-stick, so it makes making bread a little bit easier on me. I have stainless pots and things that I could use, but cleanup is always a pain with those things. So I really have become fond of using my rice cooker insert. It's the right size and shape as well. Now I'm going to add a little bit of oil here to my hand and go ahead and put some in the recipe as well. It needs about 1/4 cup of oil. Then we're gonna start getting that worked in, and then we're gonna knead our dough. It may be hard to tell here, but I just use a simple technique of fold and push for almost any of the bread recipes that I make. Fold and push. This helps the gluten in it start to form. Now, as you notice, it'll start to get sticky, and that's when you start to add in a little more of your flour. After you've made bread for a while, you can kind of sense, you know, when your dough is needing more. It becomes second nature. You know how your dough should feel. Your goal is to make sure that you don't use too much of the flour, but you want it to be nice and stretchy, soft and squishy. Just don't put too much or you'll dry your bread out. We're almost there with this one. You can see, yes, I can still pull it up and stretch it, so we're doing good. Now when I'm proofing my bread, I always preheat my microwave for about 5 minutes just to let it get warm in there, and then I just put this in there and let it sit and rise. The warmth really helps, and it's nice and damp in there so the bread doesn't get dried out. The small contained space. You can do this with an oven as well, just don't get it too hot. Okay, this is what my bread looked like when it came out of the oven. I have two different loaf pans here, that's why they look different. One is a short Pullman pan, and it's my absolute favorite pan, and we've made some cinnamon rolls also out of this, and we had those for breakfast and snacks. And then here's another item we had for breakfast out of that loaf: bread and peanut butter. And you're going to notice I did not get the cheaper peanut butter. It's $1.74, but you see those ingredients, that is why I will not buy it. Hydrogenated oils, we don't do that in our family, so we got this. That's my favorite, is just peanuts. Okay, here's another breakfast item we had, just the bread toasted with some egg. So we stretched these loaves of bread out for different items. I actually ended up making 3 loaves of bread out of that $2.12 thing of flour, and cinnamon rolls and gnocchi. And we had enough left for a pierogi. So anyway, right now we are making our gnocchi. We've added in 1 cup of our potato flakes and 1.5 cups of flour. That box of potatoes back there was $1.60, and we stretched that out for the whole week and had some left, quite a bit left. So we're going to get these ingredients mixed up. We've already added our salt. It was 1 teaspoon of salt. Now we used 1 egg, and I made the mistake here of grabbing one of our own chicken eggs. It's just a habit. I'm used to having my own eggs, and I forget that we had those in the fridge. You can see that nice orange yolk there. Sorry guys. I did go ahead at the end and subtract that 1 egg I should have used in this from the carton that we had left. We get that scrambled up a little bit and then put it in there. I'm going to go ahead and cover this with flour to protect it from the hot water when I put that in there, so we don't actually scramble our egg into our mix. We have our hot water. This is a little bit over a cup. Because I accidentally added a little more than a cup of the potato flakes, I'm adding a little bit more than a cup of water. So equal it out here. We're going to get that mixed in as much as we can with a spoon again, and then we're going to go in with our hands. Clean hands always, though. Clean hands. I'm sorry if you guys can hear me drinking in the background. I am so thirsty. My medication makes me thirsty. I'm sorry. I added a little bit of pepper to this as well. You can season your gnocchi as you would like. You can add garlic powder and pepper or Italian seasonings in it if you would like. Now we're going to use a similar process here, just push and pull basically. You'll notice that this dough is a little bit different than your bread flour dough. Has a nice pillowy texture. We love gnocchi in our family. Oh yeah, push and fold is what I was trying to say. Push and fold. For this, you just really want all of your flour mixed in to where it's not clumped up in there. You want everything mixed up well. It's important to keep your flour down on your surface as well so that you're not sticking to that, and it makes working a lot easier. Now I've got this dough just about where I want it. I'm just going to divide this up to make it easier to work with. I actually don't have my big cutting board that I usually work on, and this one's a little smaller, so it's a little more difficult, but I'll make it work. And I'm sorry about the steam coming up in the video, guys. I didn't realize that I was sitting my hot kettle right underneath the camera, so you're going to see steam throughout this. I'm sorry. Now you're going to roll your gnocchi into basically a log shape. I'm going to have to put some more of this back over in the bowl because it's going to be too long. Yeah, you don't want your roll to be too thick. They will plump up a little bit as you boil them, so you don't want them to get too large when you cut them into the little notches. And you're going to see I'm just going to cut these into notches here. They basically are like little pillows, and you can leave them in that shape if you want to. I went ahead and did the technique where you roll it down the back of a fork, but that's totally unnecessary. You can leave them just like that if you want. Or if you have a gnocchi board, you can use that. You can see the little grooves in them from the fork there. But now not all of us have all of the little gadgets that we would like to use, so I wanted to give you the easiest description as the little pillows, or the easiest process. Now we're going to get this into our water and let them boil for a few minutes. They don't take very long, and you'll know when they're done when they start to float. Now you can see they're starting to all come to the top, so I'm just running my little spoon here underneath to make sure none of them are stuck to the bottom. And then I'm going to take these out of the water. That's actually a strainer spoon, but anyway. I'm going to set these aside, and then I'm going to get the other half into our water to cook. Guys, this entire meal here only cost, it was less than $2 total. And I think that was the most affordable out of everything this week, but every single meal, complete meal, was less than $5 this week. We're going to use about another half of a bag. I went ahead and bought another one because if you were actually going with the cheapest options and bought that cheaper peanut butter, you would totally have room left over for another bag of frozen mixed vegetables. So I went ahead and got another one. And we had a little bit of money left over even with the more expensive peanut butter. I've got a little olive oil in here, and the same as usual, we're gonna cook these until they're tender. I'm going to add our trusty old paprika into our dish here. And a little bit of Italian seasoning. I'm sorry I don't measure everything out. This is just how I cook, and it's basically just a pinch at a time. So I guess that's a little bit more of a description there. Now you could also do this with broccoli or asparagus is great in this, but this is what we had from our shopping trip. So we've added a little bit of garlic and rosemary. I think the rosemary really adds a lot of flavor to this. You can also do it with a little bit of sage for a brown butter sage taste. Okay, here we have a little bit of butter that we're going to add in here. If you don't have the butter, you can still do olive oil or whatever oil that you have on hand, but the butter really does make it a great dish if you have some. I tried to stick with only using things that we got in our shop or things that you would have already in your pantry for all of these meals. This is the only one I've added butter to. And we're going to let this saute for a while and kind of brown the butter a little bit. Now, I'm sorry if I also seem a little hoarse in this voiceover. I've had a little bit of a sore throat this week. I'm not sick, it's just I have multiple sclerosis, and sometimes I don't swallow correctly, so I get choked and then I cough, and then it ends up making my throat sore. So probably TMI, but sorry guys. All right, we've added our gnocchi here, and We're going to let that blend well with the flavors here and get heated through. Like I said, we loved this dish. It's one of our favorites. So with any of these meals this week, we didn't feel like we were sacrificing anything or doing without. We were really content with everything. Now this is a really large dish that I actually am putting all of our meals into, so that you can kind of get an idea of the serving sizes here. They're decent sizes. I would say comfortably 3 people will eat on this, but if you have children, maybe 4, 2 adults and 2 children. And that is what it looks like after it's finished. Very good meal. Okay, now we're starting with our, it's not a shepherd's pie. It is basically a cottage pie, but it's inspired by shepherd's pie. We've got our half of our bag of vegetables left. We're going to get that in here and let it saute for a while. And like I said, you can change these up to whatever vegetable that you prefer. You can add different types of beans. Lentils is another thing that works great in this, and they're very affordable. We're adding a little bit of our pepper here. Now this one I did not add any salt to the vegetables because I'm going to end up adding a package of brown gravy mix, and that's fairly salty on its own, so that's gonna give the dish enough salt, or at least the vegetables enough salt. We're adding some minced garlic. This is something that you'll see in a lot of my cooking. I got that one from Azure Standard. It's my favorite place to get my dried minced garlic. It's organic and it's really affordable. And again with the paprika. And we're just going to saute these until they are a little bit more tender. On this day I was trying to hurry up and get through this meal because I was absolutely exhausted. I had been canning green beans all day, and I'll actually show you that at the end of this clip, a little jar of my canned green beans that I'd put up that day. And we're gonna add our brown gravy mix into a cup of water and let that get mixed well and set it to the side. And there we have another cup of our rinsed off beans that we cooked. Beans are one of the most affordable ways that you can stretch out your meals, as well as rice. So it's a great thing to have in your pantry. And like I said, we love beans and rice. We've got that half of our pound of chicken, ground chicken that we cooked earlier. So we're going to add that in here. And once that's all mixed in well, we're going to add in our brown gravy mix. That's what it looks like. I think it's really pretty with all the vegetables and the beans in there for contrast. There is our brown gravy mix in the water. We're pouring that in. Now we're going to let this cook until it's really nice and thick. You don't want to put it into your dish when it's runny like this. Because we're going to be topping this with our mashed potatoes, so too much liquid can create a problem there. Okay, now we have a aluminum pan here. I'm sorry for those that don't like to use those, but like I said, I was tired this day and less dishes was a better thing for me. So we're gonna get this in here. You see it was nice and thick, no runniness. The brown gravy is gonna give this a really nice beefy flavor, even though you're using ground chicken. All right, now we're going to get our mashed potatoes mixed up for the topping. And you notice I didn't, we're doing a 6 serving, by the way. You can double this if you want a thicker layer. I would actually recommend that if you have a larger family, but it's just 3 of us here, so we did the 6 serving. It's 2 cups of mashed potatoes, and I did not buy any milk, but I did go ahead and grab this container of plain Greek yogurt. We use plain Greek yogurt a lot as a milk substitute in dishes, also as sour cream. And this is gonna give the potatoes a really nice flavor and creaminess. I did the whole container. That container was 64 cents. We've got 2 cups of water we're adding here. You're going to get that mixed in really well, and then we're going to add in some of our garlic salt. Like I said, I put that in almost everything. And most of these you just season to taste, guys. You don't have to specifically go by recipes here. Now we're going to add a little bit of our olive oil as a butter substitute. It works really well, about 2 tablespoons. And once we have this mixed in really well, we're going to go ahead and pop this in the microwave. We're doing it easy peasy tonight, so yeah. Now once we've gotten that out, we're going to add it on top and smooth it out. Like I said, if you did double the mashed potato recipe, this would feed quite a few people. We actually had more than what we could eat this night, so most of these meals had leftovers. So we did eat some of the leftovers for lunch, and we still have some left, so we didn't do without any meals here. On a couple of the lunches I did just one of our favorites, and that's beans and rice that we add salsa with. So like I said, we did not do without any meals. I didn't exactly record our lunches, but you get the gist here. You just want to get as much as your veggies covered up as you can here. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're not doing anything professional here, so we're going to add a little paprika to the top. And we're going to add a little bit of our pepper. And this is what it looks like when it comes out of the oven. It has a nice crust along the edge. This is actually really tasty. It's also one of our favorite things to eat. It's basically a good comfort meal. I wanted to show you the inside of that right quick before I added some more. It's a really satisfying meal. Now I'm gonna go sit down and eat this tired mama feet. There's our green beans that we canned up today. Okay, now we are on to our last meal this week, and we're going to make some dirty rice. Now we've added a little oil to the pan. We have our seasoning blend that we bought. We're not going to use all of this. We're going to use about 3/4 of it. I'll probably use the little bit that's left in an egg scramble. So we're going to saute this seasoning blend until the onions are translucent. That's how much we have left. We've added the paprika like always. Now we're going to add the rest of our turkey sausage that we had saved from earlier. So you'll be surprised how much you can get out of 1 pound of meat when you divide it up. We'll get that mixed in really well. Of course, we're going to add in some garlic. Now we're going to add in our rice that we prepared earlier this week. You see we still have quite a bit left. We're going to add in about 4 cups of this cooked rice. Now remember, this rice still has a little bit of flavor already from the bouillon cubes, so be mindful of that when you're making these recipes on your salt. Always taste things while you're preparing them. And we're going to get this mixed in really well. Now, as rice, especially this long grain rice, as it sits in the fridge for a little while, it does tend to dry out just a little bit. I'm going to add a little bit of liquid back in here with about 1/3 of a bouillon cube. So we've got about 1/2 cup of water here with bouillon. And once our rice is all mixed in well and everything is incorporated, we're gonna add in a little bit of our Cajun seasoning. And be mindful of the Cajun seasoning as well. If you buy it pre-made, it does have salt in it. You can make this at home on your own with some cayenne, paprika, and garlic and onion powder. We're just using this one though. And it can be a little bit spicy for children, so be mindful of that as well. This was a very quick and easy meal because of our meal prepping we did earlier in the week. So that's something else I recommend when you're doing budget meals like this. Meal prepping always helps save time and money. And if you have extras, just put them in the freezer. And that's what it looks like when it's all mixed in and ready to eat. Now this was a little bit spicy for my son, but we mitigated that with a little bit of ketchup on his. And, you know, sometimes you just have to do what you got to do. But that's what it looked like, and we enjoyed this meal as well. All right, this is what we have left over at the end of the week. We have 3 eggs, minus that one that I was supposed to use instead of my farm eggs. We have 2 cups of beans. We have quite a bit of peanut butter. You can see we used it down to there. We still have quite a bit of flour to make probably pierogi. We have this much cooked rice left. Now this will get frozen. And we have this much of our potatoes. Alright friends, I hope you enjoyed this video. I did try to make these meals as nutritionally balanced as I could. I am certified in nutrition, so I was looking at every macro point. I do want you to know that if you need food and you cannot afford to buy it, please reach out to your local food banks, your local churches and food organizations. They will help you. Please don't go hungry. I love you all, and please take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye.